in order to be a terrorism prosecutor. You know, initially, when I first tried to figure out what I wanted to do for my career, I thought I'd be a doctor like my parents. But 9/11 happened my first week of college, and I really wanted to fight terrorism. And that led me to law school and wanted to be a terrorism prosecutor. And that's what I did for more than a decade. I was in the Eastern District of New York as an assistant United States attorney, and I prosecuted leaders in Al-Qaeda and ISIS and the Mexican drug cartels. I was also chief of staff of the Drug Enforcement Administration, and in 2020, President Trump nominated me to be a federal judge. I'm now taking that law enforcement experience, and I'm bringing it here back home to our state, our communities, because I see that in the last 6 years, New York has gotten less safe. I think we all feel it when you're walking down the street, when you're going in the subway. We keep hearing about how repeat offenders are getting out of jail and hurting people. We keep hearing about young kids who are dying from fentanyl and other deadly drugs. And it's not just what you're hearing or what you're feeling. The facts confirm those feelings. If you look at the data since Letitia James has been in charge, crime in New York State, the whole state, not just the city, the whole state is up 26%. Drug deaths are up 63%. The thing is, we know how to solve crime. We know how to police well. What we need is a prosecutor in charge who's focused on New York and focused on safety. And that's why I'm running. I left the Department of Justice in October. I put a campaign team together in November, and I declared my candidacy on December 1st, so it's been a little over 2 weeks. And I'm the only prosecutor in the race. And all I want to do is focus on keeping New York safe. Not use the office in the way that Letitia James has used it to go after her political enemies, to go after her political agenda. Instead, to not be distracted by any of that, use the office to help New Yorkers be better in their communities, be safer. That's why I'm running. Would love to chat with you more when we have a chance, and I really appreciate, again, the time just to introduce myself. Thank you.
Are there any questions you have right now for Saritha? Okay.
Yeah, I'll ask a question.
Please.
So what made you decide to run?
You know, one thing I didn't mention, I have 4 kids. They're 2 sets of twins. I know. Now you're not going to remember anything else about me. And I'm worrying more and more about where I can take them in the city. You know, just a couple years ago, my husband was on the subway with both of the older ones, taking him to school, and he was assaulted in the subway. Never occurred to me that that would happen just on a regular day, going to school, going to work. But it's happening more and more. I don't actually take him on the train anymore. When we go through the park, we now live in Manhattan. We used to live in Queens, but we now live in Manhattan. You see folks, it's so sad. We see folks who are homeless in Central Park, on Fifth Avenue, and it's awful. And they ask me what's going on, and I don't know how to explain that to them. How is it in the greatest city in the world? That's what we're seeing. These problems are solvable. There's a way to treat these problems with compassion and also enforce the laws and make sure people have a safe bed at night and they're not on the street. There's a way to do that, and our government's just not doing it. And I think when I look around at the city and the state, I just want my kids to grow up in a place that's safe, that they can be proud of, and it's looking like New York's not like that right now. Yeah.
What happened to your nomination to be judge, federal judge?
Fair question. I was nominated, I was vetted, and I was rated well qualified for the job. Politics got in the way. I didn't receive a blue slip.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are you going to need the state legislature to change any laws in order to implement the things that you want to do?
That's a very good question. As we all know, the bail reform law is part of the problem here. And we do need to roll it back. We do need to amend where we are on the bail reform laws and the discovery laws that came into place in 2019. So it's important in next year's elections to be looking at not just who's running for Attorney General, but also state assembly and state senate so that those laws can be changed. But I want to note that there are things the Attorney General's office can do even aside from that law changing. It all needs to happen, and everyone needs to work together to make it happen and to bring sort of common sense policing back into the state. So the answer to the question is yes, but that's not the only thing that we need to do.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm
Edwin?
wondering, are you ground game? Do you have a whole, how you organize the ground game and also whole watching, that sort of thing? What kind of ground game do you have?
Yeah, again, fair question. So it's still early. All of those pieces have to be part of our larger plan. My general approach is I'm going to try and get every vote in every community. To me, no one's off limits because safety is an 80-20 issue. I think it's a 90-10 issue. Most people agree on common sense policing. It's not something that we have to be divided about, and I actually think that's why we can win this year. I think we can win the Attorney General's race. I think a lot of, I think all the Republicans and independents and common sense Democrats can come together to form a majority behind someone who's a prosecutor, who's focused on New York, focused on safety. And I intend to take that message to every community in the city and the state. In the last 2.5 weeks that I've been a candidate, I've been to every corner of New York. I've been out west to Buffalo, been up north, in the Adirondacks, I've been out east on the island, and everyone I talk to has some version of the same story. They know about some crime that happened that could have been prevented if it had been charged properly, or some drug stash house that should have been seized and shut down but was left open to operate. That happens all too often, and I think it affects communities of all backgrounds. So my view is to reach out to communities of all backgrounds across the state and just speak to them about what I think is a basic human need, safety.
I have a question regarding fundraising. After Lee Selden had a very successful campaign in 2021, 2022, raising money. The Board of Elections, with approval, the Campaign Finance Board and the Board of Elections, with approval by 2 Republicans, New York passed a law to make sure that the Republican Party, that's now the candidates on the statewide elections, do not even come close to competing with Democrats and fundraising. I have the numbers here. Okay, so basically, what are you going to do to overcome this disparity that was approved by the Republican Party? By the way, okay, this is I'm looking at a chart right here, which I can share a little later on. Statewide primary family limits, okay, contribution to statewide campaigns like yourself. Democrats, the maximum is $154,339. Republicans, $71,132. If you go beyond $71,000, you will be penalized. The Democrats not. So this is just one small problem that we have because we are running against a uniparty, seriously, okay? And I hope you know that. So what are you gonna do to fundraise and basically be able to stay competitive in this race, because this race is going to be very, very competitive, and we need money to win. That's unfortunately the way and the sad part of politics.
Yeah, I hear you. I understand that there are certain, obviously, limits to what individuals can give depending on who that individual is. But there's no people of all backgrounds, all stripes agree on what an attorney general should be doing, and that the current attorney general isn't doing it. And I think we can get there because there's millions of New Yorkers. And I know we need millions of dollars, but there's millions of New Yorkers, and I think we can get there by just trying to reach into every community.
I would just like to say that I think everyone should contact John Thune and tell him to get rid of the blue slip law because you would have made a great federal judge, I think.
Oh, well, thank you, but then I wouldn't be here with you.
Right.
So any other questions?
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Do you have any material printed yet?
You know, if you go to my website, and I'm happy to give you a card, it's saritha4newyork.com.
I'll get your card.
Yep. My website has my launch video. It tells you a little bit more about me. It also has some of the press coverage that I've gotten. In my first week, I was invited to be on Fox News with Martha McCallum, so you can see that interview. I was covered last week in the Free Beacon, and the New York Post also covered an article. So you can see that. We'll keep it updated with additional appearances as I make them. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Saritha, and you're welcome to come back anytime you like. We meet every Thursday, okay? So we'll hopefully see you again in the near future. Okay. Okay, let's now move on to the memorial there. I guess we want to do for Mary Jo Maffia. Would you please come up? I mean, Mary Jo told me she doesn't want to say any words, so we're just going to let the people who want to speak. So I guess who would be the first person like to talk? Harris Bhattia, go ahead. Actually, we have a chair there in the back. If you want to sit there, you can sit down. Just sit, yeah, make yourself comfortable. Just make yourself comfortable. Harris?
Good evening, my name is Harris. I had the honor of being Joe Alexander Maffia's friend for 7 years, starting in 2018 when I met Joe at the Upper West Side Fair at the Republican 10. I worked on Joe's campaign for Assembly. I helped him collect signatures for arts and culture nominating petitions. I helped him canvass and did opposition policy research. I persuaded him from being pro-marijuana legalization to being neutral. I introduced Joe to the Pakistani leadership and helped him walk the Pakistani Day Parade. And after the candidacy, he told me I was his best volunteer, and we became close friends. In that time, I found Joe to be a leader, hard worker, intelligent, and good looking. Joe loved the arts. He frequented the Broadway plays and became a treasurer of an arts club. Joe loved to go to the gun range, and he brought me to the gun store to buy bullets in his Tesla. He loved that Tesla. He drove me from Queens to Manhattan to his apartment on autopilot. Joe was very involved in the community, serving on the community board. I remember watching the debate, and I felt as if the Democrat candidates were choosing their policy positions based on Joe's position. Had Joe ran as a Democrat, Joe would have been elected. While canvassing, I noticed that Joe listened to every constituent who would talk to him and provided friendly advice. I saw this in Diane DeSasio and Helen Q's campaigns and its assembly run. Joe was a family guy with 2 daughters and a grandkid. He often spoke of his travels and visiting family. Joe knew I was a Taylor Swift fan, so whenever there was gossip on the street, he would call me up and joke about it with me. When Taylor Swift got engaged to Travis Kelce, I called Joe's phone number, and that's when I found out he passed away. The impact Joe had on our lives is immeasurable. He was very involved in the Republican Party, holding the vice presidency of the Republican Club. He fundraised for Nicole and Molly Tatakis and generated $10,000 for a campaign. Joe was very influential in me attaining jobs in the Republican candidate's payroll. I got jobs to work on campaigns based on his recommendation. Aside from politics, Joe was a lecturer at Hunter College teaching accounting. He was an accountant. He had just started his own accounting business selling an accounting product for which he made me sign an NDA. Joe retired from accounting to go back to school, and he was preparing to do a PhD degree. He was full of energy and a remarkable man. He made promises and kept his promises, except one. He promised to be my treasurer should I run for office. And I'm planning to run for City Council District 23 as a Democrat in 2029. I will miss Joe. He was my close friend. Though we say goodbye today, Joe's legacy will live on in all of us for generations to come. And I just want to say one more thing. Joe hated Donald Trump, so that he was a never Trumper. I love you.
He loved Harris. He spent many days. You were his biggest supporter. Next one.
All right. I was cordially invited by you all to come here and say a few words about Joe. That arts group you were talking about that he was the treasurer of, I am the executive director there at New Dramatists. And that's how I met him. When I met him, I was the finance director, and our organization, I'm feeling a little bit like New Dramatists here in this space. It is actually a 130-year-old church that has been turned into a performing arts space, and it supports artists. So our entire intention is to work quietly behind the scenes, one-on-one, with playwrights, actually, and we support them as they develop their work and work with each other. And, you know, there's something in that really works, and there's something in that it seemed Joe really responded to and appreciated. Where we don't produce, we don't have a season, we don't sell tickets. When we have things that are open, people can come and watch for free. And yet, at the end of the day, New Dramatists has been around since 1949, and in that time, the writers who have come through New Dramatists have won 20 Pulitzers and 28 Tonys, and et cetera. So there's something that works there about investing in people one-on-one as they're working. And that's when I met Joe. As I said, I was the finance director, and I became the finance director. Like a lot of small organizations, you work there long enough, you sort of bounce from job to job. So I had done other things. I was their literary director, then I was their chief fundraiser. And then I stepped into the finance role. And I would say I had some comfort with numbers and budgeting and accounting, but this was not my native language at all. So I was still learning, and that's when Joe entered. And, you know, Joe wasn't just fluent in the language of numbers. He really did feel like a native speaker. He was very comfortable, and all of his credentials, they were a little, it was a little intimidating when I first met him and got to know him with NASPA and FASB, and that he was the vice chair of the State Board of Accountants. That was just, you know, a little intimidating. And Joe just very quietly, kind of like New Dramatists actually, took me under his wing, started showing me a few tips and tricks, kind of one-on-one workshop sessions. And, you know, looking back on it, I feel very much like the students from Hunter who talked about him and said, oh, he was a tough professor, but he was really fair and he was really supportive. And that was 100% my experience. He didn't draw attention to the fact that he was spending some time with me and sort of tutoring me up. He just did it, and he really upped my game. And that's definitely part of what I hold and treasure about my experience with him. And of course, he took this interest in this small artist support organization and sort of thought, well, that's really interesting, you know, why? And then I came to learn that he was a graffiti artist as a young man, and that was fascinating, and just sort of leaned in and said, gosh, you know, that would just opened so many new ways of thinking about him. And he became a theater date. He was a very adventurous theater goer and would go to anything. He would go to any restaurant too. He would eat any kind of food anywhere in New York, and would go see anything. And I have a very fond memory after going to see something that was pretty avant-garde. It was pretty out there. And the lights came up. There were a few of us who went to the show. The lights came up, and people started to get up and collect their things, and Joe was just sitting in his chair. And he looked up at the group and he said, I have so many questions. And that has really stuck with me, because I thought, you know, that's a mantra. It becomes a mantra for me, saying, you know, when in doubt, you're facing something, you're not quite sure what this is or what to do or how to respond, start with questions. He just had a natural inclination to that, and I treasure that too. And the last thing I'll say is that he always got candy at the theater. Always, every single time, no matter where we were. And if we were going to a tiny little hole-in-the-wall theater, we had to stop at a bodega beforehand to get something to have. And I was never that person. I never got candy at the theater. I might get it at the movies, but I wouldn't get it at the theater. And he changed my mind about that. I get the candy now, you know. He reminded me it was, you know, part of this is about enjoying yourself and enjoying where you are and enjoying the moment. So get the candy. That's my message.
I guess it's turn now.
Yeah.
Thanks to you and my friend over there, I got to know Mr. Maffia a little bit more in details about his personal life. I was not very close to him. as you guys are. We never got to work together because I was concentrating my grassroots efforts in Northern Manhattan. He was a district leader in Midtown. We worked together, and I got to know him. He was kind enough when, the chairwoman of my Manhattan Republican Party, the county party, she refused to go up to Washington Heights to speak out of my club, Mr. Joe Maffia. He volunteered, he did a great job. He felt very comfortable. All I can say is that from my experience and from what I know, basically nobody can say anything bad about him. This guy was a classy individual. Very sad that we lost him. It's a big loss, bigger than you think, because quality individuals like him are very rare in the Republican Party. He's not a politician, he's a human being. And most important is that he really wanted to make a difference. And unfortunately, ran out of time. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to get him elected in one day, because New York is so flippable, it's not even funny, but we need to take over this party, okay? Because that's the only way we can motivate and get good candidates and train them, fundraising, prepare the party to win. Right now, those situations do not exist, and having Mr. Maffia, Joe, pass away, it's like, it's basically like, knocking you down, it's like chopping your legs off, basically, because very hard. I mean, hopefully I will find one eventually in the border file, one border that is not even thinking about becoming a politician one day, joining us to become, the kind of man that he was, or even tried to simulate Mr. Maffia. He was an amazing individual, very family-oriented, smart. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to keep on going with adjectives, all night long, but everything that was said about him was perfect. Now, by the way, he didn't hate Donald Trump. He just disagreed with his policies. So, I'm very sad, and I'm here on behalf of the Northern Manhattan Republicans and on behalf of the Central Queens Republicans, this is for you, okay? Your husband was an amazing individual, okay? We pray for him, and I really do like him. Okay, this is for somebody else. Okay. So, okay, you have my number there. In case you need anything, please, I'm not far away from 57th Street, okay? All right, so,
Okay.
I mean, he was an amazing person. I don't know how else, he checks off all the boxes, when it comes down to an amazing individual, a real Republican. He's definitely a conservative, tremendous human being. He was a very active donor also in the party. So he put his money where his mouth was, basically, so he really helped a lot of people. And him and I, we were building a database together, to see if we can organize a party in New York County. Another person that was just a mirror image from Joe was brother Anthony Goodman, okay? He was a district leader on the 72nd AD. I replaced him, I'm the district leader now, but Ronald Goodman was an amazing person. I'm sure that he was also a friend of Joe. And he passed away on October 11, 2022. Very disappointed also. I got to speak to him a few times. He was in a very bad shape in his life, in his later life, but he was a very, very ambitious person. He wanted to win. He ran for office many times. He lost every single one of them. No help from the party. And, he's also somebody that definitely belongs in this conversation, okay? Because he did a lot of work. And I wish he can have lasted a little bit longer, so him and I could have also worked together, because it's all about finding and recruiting quality people, okay? So I'm going to circulate this card here so you guys get to know and see who he is, okay? His family is an amazing person. They all live in Marble Hill, in Washington Heights. Okay, so I really appreciate it very much. And moving from the dead to the living, okay, we have a person here who is definitely like a mirror image of who I am as a person, as a grassroots organizer also. And she works the county committee in her district like excellent, okay? I'm very proud of her. And Sophia, please come over. This is for you. She deserves it, okay? She's another leader to you know, it's good to honor the dead, you know, but now it's also good to honor the living, because definitely these are the people that keep the legacy of the Republican Party moving forward. Okay, she's definitely not in this business or in this organization for self-praise, okay, self-promotion or anything. She's definitely a leader, and I'm very proud of her, and I'm glad that I'm her friend. There you go.
Thank you very much. I guess anyone else would like to say something?
Have a good night, everybody.
Okay. Isaiah? Okay, thanks.
Good evening. I know we're here to remember the life of Joe Maffia. Unfortunately, I did not know him for too long, but in the time that I did know him, I remember him to be a well-respected gentleman. This is not someone who dominated the room, didn't really have that personality to me, but you know, this was someone that was very principled, that was very respected, and this was someone that wanted to make a difference. You know, he is someone that should have been in Albany, you know, because I can tell that he wanted to do better. And one thing I remember, it's his slogan, "Vote Maffia or else." It was really, you know, that's my kind of humor. So, you know, it really stuck out to me. And although he didn't win, and he should have won, really, you know, he would have made a wonderful difference up there and the kind of change that we need. You know, he still fought for what was right. And one thing that I remember, you know, back in 2023 when we reconnected, he was starting the arts and culture party line, which, you know, arts and culture means a lot to me. You know, I'm a writer. I have a book published. So, you know, to see that, you know, an issue that's not really, I guess, promoted by either party, you know, I thought that was very smart of him. And, you know, it's such a shame it didn't go, you know, much farther. But, you know, in the future, I hope to uphold his legacy by continuing the arts and culture party line, you know, being a bipartisan thing. But Joe was a wonderful man. It was very disheartening to hear that he went, and, you know, for the party to neglect such a wonderful man, you know, it's really sad, but, you know, the good ones always go so early, as they say. But, you know, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his faithful saints. I say that to all the good men in this world. So thank you for coming in, you know. Thank you for having Joe in our lives. You know, it's really sad, but, you know, we continue on and we uphold his legacy.
Anyone else want to say something? Okay. I have a text message from Michael Zumblaskas. He couldn't join you tonight, but he wanted me to read this to you. He said, the loss of Joe Maffia is a blow to everyone who knew him, especially Mary Jo and the rest of his family. I met Joe through politics, but he was one of the kindest person I ever met in politics, and I have been involved since 1992. He cares about this city and country, and all he wants to do was to help everyone. It is even sadder that just as he retired from his firm and was starting a new chapter of his life, he was taken away. I will miss him, Mike Zumblaskas. Okay. Nathaniel should be stepping in soon there. So Nathaniel Gavronsky, he's also another one who wants to make some statement. So while we're waiting for him, let me at least, I guess it's sort of my turn. Okay. Joe Maffia has spoken at the club several times there. I mean, he really is interested in helping people, as everyone have told you about there. That is really his passion. And every time I says, would you like to speak? He says, sure, and that's the reason he appeared at the club many times. Okay? We love him, and we'd help. You know, he was certainly has a lot of great ideas. And anyone who had dedicated a part of their life to politics, in a political club, I believe we should at least try to acknowledge that, okay, at least thank them for doing so. Actually, this idea wasn't mine idea to begin with. It was started by one of our club members, Kathy Lally, when she did a memorial for someone about, I think 3 months ago, Elizabeth Santilli, who was a MAGA supporter, and she was constantly out there promoting, and it was her idea to do a memorial. And when Edwin de la Cruz mentioned about the passing of Joe Maffia, who has spoken at our club several times, I thought, what is the best way to remember them, at least to do something like this there, and to just take some time away from politics and just thank the people who had put part of their life into this. So very much, Mary Jo, you had a great husband. I don't need to tell you that. You know that already. Maybe I'll get some candies in theaters in the futures. That's actually not a bad idea. And it's that humanness that really makes us, I guess, human, I guess. I mean, you hear about all these AIs that seem to be taking away the human part of it. Right? You can get things so fast, you know it's accurate, and you know they're hallucinating, but with humans, even if there's hallucination, it's hallucination of a human, whereby you know it come from somebody. They're in the computers, you just don't know. But anyway, so thank you very much, Jay. Nathaniel told me he does want to say something, and he says it's very close, so I hope you don't mind, just wait a brief moment till while he comes, because I'm sure he wants to say something there. If you don't mind, we're just going to proceed with the meeting part.
Of course, you want me to say something?
Oh, sure, of course, always. Always, you're the most important person.
Thank you, everyone. This is just so kind of you to Harris, thank you so much for coming. I'm still numb. It's only been about 4 months, so I'm still numb. But when I think about Joe's passion for politics and for the Republican Party, I think back, so when I first met Joe, he and I met on a blind date. And I was my friends of ours put us together because we were both runners and we were both Republicans. I was like, okay, this could work. And he told me on our first date that what got him involved with passion about the Republican Party was he volunteered for Ronald Reagan's campaign. And after that, he was sold. And this is when he was probably either in high school or maybe freshman in college, and was involved some way ever since. He was a district leader. We would be out petitioning. I'll just say that. That's true love, is to go out and petition with your husband. That's what I have to say. But he was on the community board, and he ran for office, and I was so proud of him, because in Manhattan, it's just, like in every borough, it's just super, super Democratic, and he went the grassroots route. That's how I got to know Harris, because we literally every weekend we were on the corner of 9th Avenue in the 30s and the 9th Avenue in the 50s, and he was literally shaking hands and giving out. Obviously, he definitely the vote for Joe Maffia or else definitely was eye-catching, to say the very least. But he would stop and talk to people and wanted to hear what they had to say, and wanted, talk to them about what are some of their concerns, like this nice woman that we just met tonight. He would have loved her. He would have been all about supporting her. So that's when yes, he's a little disillusioned about our current president, but he'd love to be involved with the local politics, and just meeting people like yourselves, and Manhattan, the Manhattan clubs, he was very involved as well. So when I think back to one of the things that just really gave him a lot of joy was being involved with the local politics here in Manhattan, and I know he enjoyed coming to speak to you, and I just really appreciate you taking the time out of your meeting today to memorialize him.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me give you a hug. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Can I actually just wait a moment, only because Nathaniel says it's going to be here. Oh, sure, you're welcome to stay back. Okay, so now we're going to move to the regular part of the meeting, which is the reading of the mission statement is the next item. Jim?
Want me to get a microphone?
Sure. However you prefer.
Huh?
However you prefer.
I can. The mission of this club shall be to advance the principles and purposes of the Republican Party, to elect Republican candidates to public office, to strengthen the civic welfare of the community, and to engage in a vigorous exchange of ideas supporting Republican values.
Thank you. Can you do the roll call, Martha?
Yes. One other point.
Please.
We need some people to buy 50-50 raffle tickets, and also I guess some people to help sell them too. So
Okay, yes, so we have a 50-50 raffle table in the back there. That would certainly help pay for some of the expenses of the club, for the food and the rental. Okay. Moving on down to the roll call. Martha?
Okay, Daniel Maio, President. David Abraham, First Vice President. Kathy Lally, Second Vice President. Tzla Levy, Third Vice President. David Kemp, Recording Secretary. Isaiah Vega, Financial Secretary. Arkadiusz Tomaszewski, Treasurer. James Schwartzman, Sergeant at Arms. Martha Rowan, Chairman of the Board here. Stephen Weiner, Stephen Weiner, these are all board members. Jim Strawhorn.
Here.
Phil Grillo. Stan Norwalk. Ruben Cruz.
Here.
Joel Solomon. Catherine Donnelly. Craig Tyson. Vic Starsky. Phil McManus. Juan Pagan. Zil Chow. Gerard Levy. Gerard Lally. Emily Tseng. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, and I guess next items, we'll have the reading of the minutes. Ronald? Thanks. Did you did so well last time?
Minutes of the regular meeting of the Central Queens Republican Club held on November 20th, 2025 at Grace Lutheran Church, 103-15 Union Turnpike, Forest Hills, Queens, 11-375. The meeting was called to order at 7:31 p.m. Michelle Koval led the Pledge of Allegiance, Jim Strawhorn read the club's mission statement, and Daniel Maio did the roll call. Regina Fays read the minutes of October 16, 2025 meeting. The minutes were adopted unanimously. Board members in attendance were Ruben Cruz, Carol Crone, Daniel Maio, Martha Rowan, Jim Strawhorn, Joel Solomon, Arkadiusz Tomaszewski, and Craig Tyson. Absent were Stan Norwalk, Gerard Lally, Kathy Lally, James Schwartzman, David Abraham, Tzla Levy, Phil Grillo, David Kemp, Emily Zhang, Isaiah Vega, Stephen Weiner, Catherine Donnelly, Vic Starsky, Juan Pagan, Zil Cow, and Phil McManus. The treasurer, Arkadiusz Tomaszewski, reported the current bank balance was $4,361.92, with 59 members, partially thanks to Stephen Wang, who gave a generous donation to the club to be used to cover other members' dues. The nominating committee, headed by Chairman Martha Rowan, reported the following officers are nominated for the calendar year of 2026. Daniel Maio, President. David Abraham, First Vice President. Kathy Lally, Second Vice President. Zilla Levy, Third Vice President. David Kemp, Recording Secretary. Isaiah Vega, Corresponding Secretary. Carol Crone, Financial Secretary. Sophia Worrell, Treasurer, and James Schwartzman, Sergeant at Arms. The board members for the 3-year term are Arkadiusz Tomaszewski, Phil McManus, Juan Pagan, Zil Cow, Gerard Lally, and Emily Zhang. Carol asked about the election procedure. According to the club's bylaws, the election will be held on December 18th. The board chairman would then be elected among the officers and board members. Ruben Cruz asked whether all members of the nominating committee are dues-paying members. It was answered in the affirmative. Daniel thanked members of the nominating committee for their service. Members were Martha Rowan, David Abraham, Arkadiusz Tomaszewski, Isaiah Vega, and Jonathan Rinaldi. Announcements. Ilan Riss, who was in Israel for several months when the last living hostages were released on October 13th, spoke. He shared that Israeli intelligence issued warnings months before the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack. After about 1,200 were killed and 254 hostages were taken, Israel's war against Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and Yemen followed until President Trump stepped in to end it. Ilan has lived in Israel since 1978 and has experienced some form of war consistently. Sophia asked how Israel is doing now. Ilan answers that the society has adapted to living under preparation for war. Anton asked what was the corruption Ilan was referring to. Ilan said the attack started at 5 a.m., but the military did not respond until 2 p.m., 9 hours later due to strong divisiveness of the two political camps. Second. Then we have the speaker Svetlana Zelenskaya, a district leader in the 26th Assembly District and founder of the New Way Civic Coalition. With nearly 400 members, was elected first vice chairman of the Brooklyn GOP in September. Growth of her club is attributed to recruitment of voters to work as poll workers. Democrats and Republicans in voter registration drives registering about 500 new and party switched voters last year. For 2026, Svetlana believes in uniting behind Elise Stefanik for governor. She is against the GOP backing candidates who will not win. Don't believe in candidates offering gold. Harris Bhattia asked why does she not support Bruce Blakeman. George Marsh asked whether she believes in Republican primary. Michelle Koval asked how Republicans could educate the public against Democrats, promising free money. Regina Fahey's chimed in that Mamdani, as mayor-elect, has no jurisdiction over the MTA, a state agency. Ruben Cruz interjected that riders are already treating buses as free rides. Jonathan Dykeman asked about low information gerrymandering and election integrity. Harris Body proposed that Republicans also get on the Democratic ballot. Jim Strawhorn emphasized that candidates need to speak well and joining Toastmasters could help. He prefers public safety over law and order and recommended the book Conversations with Socrates. Eric Tomaszewski talked about outreach strategies. Michelle Koval, a nurse practitioner, shared how she was taught how to transition kids into other gender in her pediatric class. Boris Belensky questioned about how voters are educated. Martha Rowan shared how shocked she was to read her grandson's college courses, including Queering STEM. Being a Republican in New York is hard work compared to being a Democrat. Sophia Worrell pointed out that she got a stipend from Catholic Charities for helping Democrats, but nothing when helping Republicans. Craig Tyson clarified that Democrats exaggerate problems, but Republicans should not ignore them. Carol Crone thanked members' dedications and enthusiasm. George Marsh summarized that we can learn from Mamdani's success. Arkadiusz Tomaszewski won the 50-50 raffle. He offered his $25 winning as payment for one club membership, which was accepted by Michelle Koval. Motion to adjourn the meeting was made by Regina Fahey's and seconded by Eric at 9:31 p.m.
Thank you very much. Are there any corrections or comments on the November 20th minutes? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt the minutes? Anton, and seconded by Richard. All in favor said aye? Aye. All opposed? Nay. Okay, one nay, unusual naysayer. The minutes have been adopted with one nay. Now, Nathaniel has just arrived. It's quite dry for him, though. He's coming in from Brooklyn. And I guess Nathaniel would like to... So, MJ, Nathaniel would like to say his...
Hello everyone, I'm Nathaniel Gavronsky. I'm with the Metropolitan Republican Club, and I came here tonight mostly to speak about Joe Maffia. When I came to New York, I heard a lot about Joe. I heard about him, what, his name is Maffia? Like, yeah, his name's Maffia. Okay, so I heard about him a lot. I hadn't a chance to meet him yet, and he was running for office, and I'll never forget the night I actually got to sit down and meet Joe. We were at the Beach Cafe, and I was with Michael Zumblaskas. I was working his campaign, and I sat down. And I didn't even know what he looked like. I sat down next to this gentleman. We started having a really great conversation about not politics, but philosophy. Not just idealism, but livable philosophy, like how you should actually see the world, your reaction within the world, and how you deal with other people, and how other people aren't special, they're not better than you, but you shouldn't be better than they are either. And when every time you talk to someone, especially someone who does not agree with you, you're not better than they are. You are someone who, with them, have an idea of what you want to see as an outcome, but a different way of getting there. And I didn't expect anything from him. He didn't owe me anything. He gave me his time, which I thought was really grand. Because all I have heard about this guy is how revered he was by everyone that had worked with him over the decades that he had been involved. And I remember when I was in town to pay the bill, Dave, the owner of the Beach Cafe, said, "Don't worry about the Maffia, took care of it." I mean, without context, that sounds a little like off-putting. I mean, what do you hold? He paid for it. He paid for my. He didn't. I talked to him for 20 minutes, and he bought my $45 and some odd cents meal. He didn't owe me that. He didn't even let me say thank you. He got left, never told me. And I actually was looking forward to seeing him again, to say how grateful I was, not only for the dinner, but for the amount of time he took to talk to me about more than just politics. Because politics is not the most important thing in the world. It really isn't. I think people that work in politics get distracted by self-grandeur on how important their work is, when for him, politics was a side project. His doing good work and him wanting to leave a mark on people, not as someone who was in the policy or the politics or republicanism or conservatism, but just to leave a mark on people that he didn't even know if he'd ever see again. He just knew that by leaving a positive mark on one person, that hopefully that positivity would be paid forward. And I never got to say goodbye to him. But I remember when I had heard he had passed, the remainder of that entire week was pretty crappy, honestly, because I had hoped that he was going to run again. I was hoping that I was going to be seeing him more. And I remember I called Mike Zumblaskas and asked, what had happened, because I hadn't heard anything about any illnesses, no nothing. And I mean, I heard people talking about him all the time. And the rest of that week was a really sad, very sad time, because even though for only that short moment of time, someone that was admired by that many people, I had had a small little moment to learn from him. And for me, the only thing I want to try to pay that forward the best as I can. And that's hard because I don't think I could do him justice for how much respect people had for him, not because of his political status, but because of how good of a person he was. And I just want to let you know that for that very short moment in time, it was probably one of the most surreal experiences in New York politics I've ever gotten. And I honestly don't think I was really worthy of it, for as much as people talked about the amount of stuff he knew and understood and what he tried to achieve and what he was wanting to achieve in politics is something that if we're going to be continuing to do this with our time and our efforts, he's our role model going forward, because that's the type of person that we would want to be. It's not just hard policy, it's people policy. And I think that's the way he lived his life and the way he handled his interactions with people. And if we're gonna win, we need to win the way he ran, which is understanding people and what people's needs are, not just ideology. And you look at what we just went with the Mamdani vote. Mamdani twisted people's needs into giving him power. Joe never sought power. He just wanted to make sure that people were getting what they needed from their government. As you look at Mamdani, he's enriching his family. They went and bought all these vacant properties, and now the city's gonna turn them into city-run grocery stores. Everything Mamdani's done has been to enrich himself. that's not Joe's way, that shouldn't be our way. When we do stuff, it should be looking at people, the people who make up this city from all backgrounds, and discussing with them real ideas that don't just sound good, because a lot of ideas sound good, just don't have any, they don't work, because they live in that is-ought gap in philosophy. This is the way the world is, this is the way we think it ought to be. Well, the ought problem is that human nature has a thing. It is a thing, it's always gonna be a thing. And you can't just say, well, we can force people to behave differently. That's not having a human-to-human, person-to-person relationship. It's not. And when it comes down to going forward, especially within Republican politics, so that I represent the Metropolitan Republican Club, not the Metropolitan Former Governors Club, not the Metropolitan Independence Club, the Metropolitan Republican Club. Because I've heard people having, well, there's so many Democrats that are actually Republican, but they register Democrats so they can vote in the in the Democratic primaries. And I have people come in to do petitions all the time, like, well, you're a registered Democrat. Yeah, but I'm a Republican. But it says that you can't sign this. You're a registered Democrat. Well, can I change my vote? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. If we're gonna win as Republicans, because that's why we're all here, you need to register as a Republican. You need to get involved as a Republican. It's not about just wearing the hat and saying, look, I'm a Trump supporter. What does that actually mean? Because when Joe said about being a Republican, he could give you an answer of what that meant. It's gotta be deeper than just a button, a slogan, a beret, or a red hat. I was a great supporter of Curtis Lewa, and I think that what we did to him was an injustice. It was a true injustice by saying we should all go vote for Cuomo, because the only political experience I have with Cuomo was him murdering a lot of people. He was not the answer. And we should all recognize that. And for the Republicans who said we want to go support Cuomo, they supported the same death that he promoted. He says, well, this was the best ideas at the time. You know, there are 50 governors of states and several, territories. A lot of those governors, as soon as they realized that, they actually did their own research and found out that what the CDC was promoting wasn't working, they stopped it. They went the other direction. Look at Kim Reynolds in Iowa, you look at Christie in South Dakota, Doug Burgum in North Dakota, and Ron DeSantis in Florida. They said, this isn't working, we're not doing this anymore. They actually did their own research versus Cuomo, who doubled down and killed more people because of it. And that's what Republicans were told to vote for? Who actually wants to vote for someone that the only experience you have with them is a bad one? I had a very short experience, person to person, with Joe Maffia, and it was a very pleasant one. That's why I would vote for him, and that's why I would support him, and why I understand why he was so admired. If you can't admire someone, if you can't have a human relationship with someone, why would you want to vote for them? I was in every borough with Curtis Lewa, and we went down some very dangerous streets in the middle of the night. People come up and wanted to shake his hand. He wasn't scared of nobody because he had respect. It's that respect that's going to get you somewhere. So trying to shout someone down, argue someone down, it's just going to backfire against you, me, and everyone else. You can't just relate facts out to someone because they have their alternative facts. They're not going to listen to yours no matter how much evidence you provide to them. You have to have a human relationship. That human relationship's what gets people to want to vote for you. Not because of the letter that's at the end of your name. Maybe not even because of all of your policies, but because of what they believe that you believe, and that you have given them the confidence that what you're trying to do is going to make not only their lives better, but their children's lives better, their neighbors' lives better. There is an emotional aspect of this. Joe knew that. we have to encompass that. We have to actively work on emotionally engaging people, especially those who don't agree with us, because that's the key to victory. And I know we all know that. So I want you to all remember something. Whenever you go into a room and it's a mixed crowd, people who maybe not even know that engaged in politics, they just have an issue. We all have issues. We live in New York City. But what I'm saying is that when you go in there, if you think that you are the most important person in that room, there are two things you need to realize. One, you're either in the wrong room or you're in the wrong industry or both. Joe never acted as he was the most important person in any room that he was in. People thought he was. People would treat him like he was. But he would treat everyone as if they were on his level because he believed that he was on theirs, and that's why he had the ability to lead them politically. That's what our mission should be. That's how we should interact with people, is based on getting them to want to support us because they believe in our integrity, that we are going to be there. We are going to be the ones who provide them with what they're seeking. Affordability, there's a Republican way to do that. Our policies are going to do a way better job than the Democrats' policies are. Safety, that's a Republican topic. We should be winning on that too. We should be winning on every single issue, but we do it not by arguing, but by showing our humanity, our integrity, and our ability to have a relationship with anyone, especially those who disagree with us. That was Charlie Kirk's message. That was Mr. Maffia's message. That was Curtis Lewis' message. And if you're a Republican, that better be your message too. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
I guess we'll continue with the agenda. We'll have the treasury report. Agadius Tomazuski, your last report as a treasurer for this year.
Exactly. That's my last time that I doing that report. The current balance is $4,265.72. From the next year, from the beginning next year, Sophia is going to be a treasure person, and I encourage everyone. Right now is end of the year, and membership will be very important for people to pay membership. It would be great, and I have to do it by myself. Yeah, that's all. The current balance is $4,265.72. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ari. According to the bylaws, every year and in December, I am required to give you an annual report of the club. I have a very brief statement, okay? We held a meeting every month for the past year, so we had 12 meetings. We have over 80 speakers that came. I mean, we welcome anyone, okay, who want to speak. And let's see, some of the interesting speakers, of course, besides the candidates, let's see. We also had the Bronx County Chairman, Pat McNance, who spoke. We also had Spolazan Zelensky, the Kings County First Vice Chair, who spoke at the last meeting. We have also a Lawrence Spivak, who is a Dr. Seuss of politics, who spoke. Now, we have several people that have also asked to speak at the club, so our board, we sort of presented before the board, and to see who'd be interested, obviously, the board would decide that. So it's good that our club is known out there. We're certainly open to anyone who comes, regardless of your party, you're welcome to. We'll give you a platform to speak there, provided the board says okay. Okay, and let's see, in addition to those speakers, let's see what we have done. Let's see, as of tonight, we have 62 paying members. Our newest member is Dan Ladner, okay? Dan, would you like to say a few words as the newest member? I know Dan from way back in 2003, I think, 2002, I believe, when I was living in Manhattan. He was running for state assembly. He may throw his hat back in again next year. Okay. If he does, he's welcome to come and speak at the club. Okay, and also something we have done this year, we have Ray Block, who is a musician that has come regularly at about 5 meetings to play, which was pretty nice. We also did a memorial thanks to Kathy Lally. The first one was for Elizabeth Santilli on October 16th, and tonight we had the second one. And that, I think, it really started from Kathy. I think it's a nice tradition to continue for anyone who really contributes to the club. And especially if they spoke at the club, we definitely would give them a memorial if we can. So if you know someone that deserves to be recognized for whatever reason, please, if they put their heart and soul to the party, we would definitely give them a moment of appreciation. And something we have done, and unfortunately that person is here tonight, Phil Grillo. Are you still here? Oh, yes, Phil Grillo. Of course, as you all know, something dramatic finally happened after Trump was elected. The very first thing he did was to pardon the J6ers, okay? And Phil Grillo, unfortunately, during that time, was already incarcerated. So he was able to, at least when the announcement was made, he was able to be released. We also did a GoFundMe for him. Obviously, because he lost his job, he wasn't able to get some work for a while. So thanks to the club. Would you like to say a few words, Phil?
Please. Thanks, Danny. In my humble opinion, the jury was rigged in Washington, D.C. I chose to go to trial. They offered me 41 to 51 months. I wasn't going to take that. I took my chances with the jury. Anyway, ended up in a freezing cold prison. Last year at this time I was in prison. And my sister had sent me some thermals, and it was really something else. I was very humbled by Danny and a lot of other people in this room from this club to go ahead and get some funds together for me. It was really something that I definitely needed. I had a lapse of car insurance, and that's where the money went to get because I was in jail, I couldn't pay my car insurance. And I really appreciate the commissary money while I was in there. It goes a long way to have whatever, ramen noodles or whatever the case was. And I'm reminded every day about the injustice of the justice system. I thought that I would be able to go, hey, I didn't do anything violent, this, that, tell my story, and the prosecutors would present. That's not the way it works at trial. And for those people who say, well, it was federal prison, it wasn't state prison, it wasn't that bad. That's not the case. No. It's I was in 6 different prisons, Kentucky, 2 in Kentucky, 1 in Pennsylvania, 1 in West Virginia, of course the Washington D.C. gulag, on the floor, horrible conditions. Other people have been reporting who have recently been part of the mold and the breathing. It's not a nice place for a reason. Prison is not supposed to be nice, but there's something extra that got me through I didn't do anything wrong, and during my sentencing, I told the judge that Trump was gonna pardon me anyway, so, I got the last word. Well, actually, he got the last word. Through it all, I received phone calls from, they gave me a text message device. Danny had given it out to people. I know that some of you, somebody named Steven or somebody was texting me. I don't know who he is. So that helped a lot. It meant a lot. It really, I removed myself. My last day of office in the Queens County GOP was October 1st. Didn't want to run for re-election. I'm done with the party. I don't need help from the party to get somebody on the ballot that wants to run for office. But you don't need the party. And so I did a lot of thinking in jail. I came out last year, I helped get the guy over there with the hat on, Rinaldi, on the ballot, you know, to spite the GOP, because they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything for me. Not a fundraiser, not nothing. Just not that I wanted anything. He did it, I didn't even ask for it. You know? And when the Republican Party has candidates, they tell them, don't come here to Danny Maio's meeting, because he's a threat to them during a reorganization. Curtis Lewa wouldn't come here. He didn't come here, Curtis Lewa. No. He was asked and asked over and over again. He wouldn't come here because the party tells him what to do. So, anyway, I'm very glad that I'm a J6er. There's going to be a memorial on January 6th in Washington, D.C. for Ashley Babbitt, the 5 other January 6th peaceful protesters that were killed by the police. There's some, well, I support the police, but there's some bad apples. They were throwing grenades at us. You know, and I'm part of a January 6th community. Phone calls, you know, lawsuits. We just filed, 400 of us just filed a lawsuit for millions of dollars. The more that Trump comes out with, you know, how the election was rigged and stolen, he says he has truckloads, that's better for all of us, you know. It was not a fair trial. You know, and once again, there was nothing in the world. I would do it all over again, just to be in jail, to be in the prison TV room, watching His Excellency President Trump sign my pardon, and literally 30 minutes later, the doors open. They were like, get out of the jail. So, and I came right here, and this guy hooked me up. You know, and yeah.
What can be done to pressure Jim Jordan on the Judiciary Committee to impeach these judges who, you know, went after the J6s unlawfully? And also in the FBI, what can be done to get rid of those prosecutors who were evil?
It's in the tort claims, you know, the claims that are coming out for a lawsuit to impeach these judges. There's a lot of talk of that on the January 6th groups that I'm in. Lots of talk about impeaching these judges. My judge was Judge Royce Lamberth, who told me that during my sentencing, he said that I showed intent because I sung the Star Spangled Banner outside of the Capitol, that showed intent, and that was good enough for him, and that, you know, he had to satisfy the jury. You know, they found me guilty of obstruction of an official proceeding, carries 20 years, and then the Supreme Court threw it out. I got lucky on that. You know, it delayed my sentencing by another year. A lot of J6s weren't that lucky. I would love to see some of these judges impeached. My FBI agents, I would never, they tailed me for about a month and a half. They followed me around, chased me around the neighborhood. I outran them in a car. They wrote all of this in the discovery. They had pictures of me, but yet, you know, wanted to make a big ordeal with 70 FBI agents, the whole entire NYPD. They closed off the whole neighborhood to come and arrest me. I thought it was well over the top. You know, but I'd like to thank everybody here. I see you on the group site, you know, and posting, and board members and people who keep showing up, and, you know, yourself who handed me $100 when I came out of prison. I don't forget that, you know. Very, very humbling. Yes?
Can you explain to us how you or the J6s have bounced back mentally, financially, etc., from after you...
Man with 2 kids, who, you know, I think we're up to like 60 dead. Suicide, one by a police officer when he first got out of jail. So it's, you know, a couple of them from cancer, not getting their cancer medication. And it was, you know, it's, we're not doing very well. We're not doing very well. You know, although first of all, I had no criminal record, and right now I have no criminal record because His Excellency President Trump pardoned me. But if you Google me, it all comes up. Nothing is off of it. You know, it comes up what's all over the place. So how am I supposed to go and, you know, get a job as a civil servant or anything like that? Oh, you're J6. Oh, no, we can't have that. They just would rather not hire you. You know, and that's the problem going around the country. These guys are just, you know, they've been associated with it. They've lost their businesses. You know, trying to get back on their feet, you know, so a lot of the J6s are helping the other J6s get back on their feet, but it's, you know, it's a struggle. And we have great board members here. We have one in particular, her name is Emily. She's an Asian American from China, and goes out of her, they go out of their way. They came and picked me up when I got out of prison. It was freezing cold. They put me in a hotel room, put clothes on me, gave me a backpack, shoes, razors, soap, food, phone, cigarettes, beers. Because I said, I need beers, I need cigarettes. They're like, you know, right to the store we went. I mean, you just got out of jail, you know. So, I mean, we have some really great supporters in this room of January 6th, and I did it. You know, but I don't think that you know, if you go into the Capitol right now and you walk in and you go into an unauthorized area and you sit down, they put the zip ties on you, they take you outside, and they give you a ticket. Like $200 or $50 or whatever it is. That's what I should have gotten.
Wow.
Anyway, God bless all of you. I hope all of you have a Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Okay, continuing with our meeting agenda here. Okay, and that's basically it, what we done at the club this year. Okay, so hopefully it is a productive year and meaningful. Next on the item of the agenda is basically the elections of the officers for next year and also the board members that was announced. I guess Martha, would you come up and just read the names again? Now, while Martha reads the names there, the elected, including the existing board members, they could either tonight or before the next meeting select a chairman of the club. Chairman does not have to be one of the names on the list, okay? So if any one of you interested to be a part of the club, to be a chairman, as long as you paid your dues, you're welcome to submit the consideration to Martha, and we will at least consider it. At least the board members will get a vote on it.
Okay, so this is our new, the current, as of this election, the officers and board of directors. So Daniel Maio, president. David Abraham, first vice president. Kathy Lally, second vice president. David Kemp, recording secretary. Isaiah Vega, corresponding secretary. Carol Crone, financial secretary. Sophia Worrell, the treasurer, welcome. James Schwartzman, sergeant at arms. Martha Rowan, well, at the moment, Martha Rowan, chairman of the board. Arkadiusz Tomaszewski is now a board member. Phil McManus, Juan Pagan. These are all the members of the board of directors through from 2026 through 2028. Juan Pagan, Zili Chow, Gerard Lally, Emily Tseng, Stephen Weiner, Jim Strawharn, Martha Rowan, Philip Grillo, Stan Norwalk, Ruben Cruz, Joel Solomon, Catherine Donnelly, Craig Tyson. So,
Are there anyone who is interested in any of the position that was just announced? Okay, seeing none, I guess we probably don't need a vote then. You'd be, I guess, will be adopted. These are the officers for the year 2026 and the board members. Thank you very much and congratulations everyone. Thank you, Martha. Okay. And for those board members and officers who are here tonight, if you want to tonight, you can select the chairman. Okay. Okay. Now, what's going next year? Of course, it's going to be elections for the governor, the attorney general, to which we had a speaker earlier this evening, and comptroller. Currently, there's one Republican comptroller, Joseph Fernandez, okay, who tried to run for mayor under Quality for Life this year. Okay, he will be coming to speak at the club. There are 3 Republicans running against Letitia James, and 2 Republicans running for governor, Bruce Blakeman and also Lisa Stefanik. I have reached out to both of them. Hopefully, one of them or hopefully both of them will come. Okay. That's what's happening next year. In the case of local races, we have 3 special elections that's going to happen in March. One of them is going to be Harvey Weinstein seat in 74th in Manhattan on the Lower East Side. There is a Brad Hoyman-Siegel who was a state senator in Manhattan and became the Manhattan Borough president. That will be also in March. Queens has 1 assembly seat that's up for election. Do you know who is the one that is vacating?
36 or 37, I think.
Mamdani. Yes. Okay, he is currently still a state assemblyman. Of course, when he's sworn in at the beginning of the year, his seat will be vacant and a special election again will be called in March. The rule, unfortunately, is you have to be a resident in that district for at least 1 year, okay? So if you know someone who lives there, okay, Isaiah, you have someone?
I wish.
Okay.
What's interested?
What district is it?
What district is it?
Story of Long Island City.
Okay. Yep. So if you know any Republicans in Astoria, Long Island City, as of this morning, I was told that the current chairman, Tony Nunziato, has no one. Okay. So if you know someone that's interested, the good thing about an endorsed candidate on the Republican, Conservative, Democrat, Working Family line is you don't need a petition. Okay. In a special election, there's no petitioning. Okay, so they just submitted 1 sheet of paper, you sign, you're on the ballot. Okay? Unless if you want to run on a third party line, then you need to collect signatures. And it is a lot of signatures. A regular petitioning is usually 500, but for a third party line is 3 times that, thanks to Cuomo. Okay? So you need to collect 1,500 signatures in 10 days. Okay? The announcement most likely made on January 3rd, okay? So that means from January 3rd to January 13th, whoever wants to run for Mamdani's seat needs to collect 1,500 signatures from anybody, okay? But in the freezing cold. So, if anyone's interested, know someone, please let me know, okay? We will have more candidates once they make the announcement official to speak at the next meeting on January 15th. I know some of you in the group here are interested in running. Okay, if you want to, you can make an announcement tonight. Hint, anybody? Okay, nobody want to make it official yet. Okay, all right. Then we're going to move on to the last item on the agenda. Okay, Jonathan Rinaldi. Now.
I need an outlet though.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I'm sure you all know about what Jonathan Rinaldi did. He got a lot of press.